This episode is presented by Visit Cedar City Bryan Head Tourism Bureau. Discover the art of adventure at Utah's gateway to the parks. Cedar City is within a few hours' drive from 6 different national parks and monuments, and only 30 minutes from fresh snow at Bryan Head Resort. Check out visitcedarcity.com to plan your next trip. This episode is sponsored by the Cedar City Business and Innovation Center. Dedicated to supporting local businesses and entrepreneurs, it provides resources and services aimed at fostering business creation, growth, and retention. To learn more and get involved, visit innovationcenter.cc. Hello and welcome to the Explore Local podcast presented by Visit Cedar City Bryan Head in partnership with Cedar City Iron County Economic Development, produced by Dallas Smith Media, and I'm your host, David Johnson. Okay, today we have Bert Mitchell, who is the commander of the Iron County Sheriff Search and Rescue, joining us on the podcast. Bert, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, appreciate the invitation. It's good to be here.
Yeah. So we were just talking before we started about how Iron County Sheriff Search and Rescue is all volunteer. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So everybody on the team is a volunteer. Nobody gets paid for it. The organization itself is we're under the direction of the Iron County Sheriff. Now, like our equipment, so the county will provide equipment to us, our
Right.
big durable stuff, trucks and stuff like that. But we are completely responsible for all of our personal equipment. Anything that we have to do for ourselves is strictly up to us to do. So
How many volunteers do you have total?
right now we have our what we call our member roster, which is our roster of people who are actually full members, and right now it's sitting at about 40, I think. Total on our roster, we've got about 60 people. So we bring people will come in as you know. On a kind of a probationary period, and we get them through training and see if that's what they want to do. You know, you tell people you're going to be paying for all your stuff yourself, and sometimes people will balk at that. But that is what it is. But anyway, so we've got about 60-something people on our roster right now.
Wow. Now, do they have to have some sort of baseline background or experience to
Not necessarily.
Participate?
I mean, it helps, anybody, because we've got people that are or were EMTs. We have a lot of former military, not a lot, but we have former military. We have former LEO, law enforcement.
Okay.
People that have done wilderness first aid or wilderness survival stuff. But for the most part, it's just people of the community. It's mostly people in the community that want to serve the community. And most of we have a fairly in-depth, rigorous training program that we put people through. Most of it's done in-house.
Wow.
We do require everybody, we do require everybody in the unit to have at least a CPR or basic life-saving training, carry a card.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's just, we try to do most of the stuff in-house, but it's helpful to have some background, but not necessary.
Yeah. So how long have you been doing this?
We were talking about that the other day. I think this is my 8th year.
Okay.
I'd have to think back, and I'm pretty sure it's 8 years.
And what motivated you to get involved yourself?
Well, kind of a long story. Several years ago, I ended up getting a German Shepherd, and I wanted him to do something. I had an acquaintance that's a dog trainer in town, and I was talking to her, and she was part of a private canine search group. And so I kind of tried to get involved in that. My dog didn't work out. He actually turned out to be a little bit aggressive, but good dog. I'd do anything to have him back. Anyway, about 9 years ago, he passed. We got another dog. I talked to her again, and between that time, she had joined the Iron County Sheriff Search and Rescue, and said, "Well, if we do that, you've got to join the unit because the canine unit now is attached to that."
Oh, really?
So it's because of a dog. I'm where I'm at now. So anyway,
so is the canine unit for? Is it a separate canine unit for just search and rescue, or is it the same canine unit that the sheriff's office has?
No, it's completely separate.
It is separate.
Yeah. So what the deputies and anybody else has in law enforcement, they're actually owned by that organization.
Right.
Our dogs are house pets, basically. We do most of our own training, and of course it's a different thing. The law enforcement dogs are trained to do different things with apprehension and stuff like that. Our dogs are strictly just go find people, and then we also have some of our dogs are trained in human remains.
Is there a certain breed? Is it like German Shepherds, or are there a variety of breeds?
About any breed. I mean, there's specific breeds that are more prone to be able to do this kind of work. There's so Shepherds of any kind. Labs, especially labs, are really good. Those type of breeds. Hunting and herding breeds are kind of the better ones. But I will say, I have been to trainings. Went to a really good training in Salt Lake about 5 or 6 years ago. And some of the people that were involved in that, they had rescue dogs that were just mutts. And they actually did really good. Now, the base of that dog was one that already had some herding or sort of skill like that. But again, I mean, it's just, it all comes down to the drive that the dog has and just a few minor things like that. But
yeah, that goes into actually a little bit of my next question about the dogs specifically. I'm going to quiz you about that because I wasn't even thinking about the canines. Does it matter the age of the dog? I mean, obviously you don't want like a 12-year-old dog, but I mean, do you want them within like the first 4 years or something, or 2 years?
I mean, you can teach an old dog new tricks. I've learned that because my dogs are getting older, and I'm teaching them new things. However, to get started, the training process, they have to be very well behaved because we're dealing with the public in different scenarios. We get a lot of kids. There's going to be a lot of kids, and they're going to be scared. People get scared too. I know. I'll tell you another story about that in a little while. But so that it's we have to get them through that part of it and make sure and then it takes at least a year to get them up to a point to where you're getting into where they'll actually be deployable, and sometimes longer, sometimes 2 years, because we try to train at least once a week.
Together as a group?
As a group. And then we train on our own, at home and do whatever. But, even then, it's just, you've got to, where we represent the sheriff and we represent the unit, we have to make sure that our dogs are ready to go. We have a specific standard that we actually train to. And
oh, wow.
But yeah, it's a lot of fun.
What kind of dog do you have?
I have I actually got 3 German Shepherds now. I got 2 older ones. They're my little female. She's getting a little older and it's getting harder. So I brought another one on so I can start training her. And that's been it's been a long time since we've had a puppy.
Interesting. Yeah, that's they are high energy. The puppies are, and they chew everything up.
Oh man.
You said there was like 60 plus that you have. How many of them have canines?
Right now we've got 8 handlers, and let's see, we've got 10. I got to think, 10 dogs, and then we've got 3 of us that have brought new puppies on.
Oh, wow.
And so as they kind of rotate out, which I hate to say that because it makes me sad to think I've got to retire my female, and probably my male too. He's getting older too. But so right now, as our unit stands, we've got 8 handlers and 10 dogs.
Now, kind of going back to what we were talking about, or what I asked you about in the beginning about qualifications. Tell me about you mentioned you have some veterans, EMTs. Are there other types of backgrounds? Like, for example, a buddy of mine and his brother, if you're familiar, several years ago with the young man that got stuck in the Nutty Putty Caves.
Yes.
Forever ago. Yeah. A buddy of mine and his brother, they weren't on search and rescue, but they were cavers and they're rock climbers and rappellers. And so they brought in some people with that expertise, and they kind of helped in that situation the best they could. So tell me do you have others with some of those unique kind of backgrounds?
Yeah, we
well?
do. In fact, we have a, I wouldn't call it a separate team. We have a high angle rescue team. We actually have a separate,
like unit almost.
Yeah, they're their own little group because their training and everything is so much more technical. I mean, it's, at least one of the guys from what we call the ropes team is on search and rescue as well. They're all part of the sheriff search and rescue. We're all the same thing. Yeah. But they are kind of their own separate thing because they do different trainings. They have, a lot of different things that they do, and exceptional people. I mean, it's a lot of fun to watch them work. But they are. Do
you have like 5 different types of teams with specialties? What are those
types
of specialties?
As a matter of fact, so we've got, the ropes team is their own thing. We've got the canine team. We have what we call a winter rescue team. And so these are people that have a lot of skills like on snowmobiles and just being in snow in general.
Yeah.
I hate snow with a passion. So that's,
that's not your team.
That's not my bailiwick. But yeah, so And we've got a big snowcat. The county's provided us with a snowcat, and that's I wouldn't say it's very technical, but driving that, you have to have, a certain amount of training on that because it's completely different than, it's not just a piece of heavy equipment. There's a lot of different things that can go on with that.
That you jump on.
And they're the ones, that are getting up 3 o'clock in the morning in a blizzard to go get somebody out. And,
wow, yeah.
And let's see what else. We got the drone. We've got a drone team.
Okay.
We can get into it later, but we got a grant to get some drones, and we've got, let's see, I don't know how many people are on that team right now, 4 or 5. They do exceptional work, and it's a lot of fun to watch these different teams. We have an equine team, which I think is 2 people right now, and then we have a mountain bike team, but a couple of those people moved and left the unit, so they're kind of trying to build that back up too. But that's been very helpful for all the new trails they put up here on the mountain, and so trying to get, more than anything, getting equipment up there, that still takes a little bit because of the terrain itself, but it's nice to have the bike team. They can just jump on the bikes and head up to where they are, and then they can give us an assessment of what's going on. So that's been really helpful. And same thing with the drones. If they can't find a person, if we do find somebody, we can get them overhead and have them assess the situation. And they've got night vision and FLIR and stuff on it too, so they can really kind of get an idea of what's going on that way.
Is that some of the equipment that you've got, individuals have to buy themselves, like with the drones, or obviously the mountain bikes? But
the mountain bikes they have to buy on their own. Everything else is provided by. Like I say, we got a grant a while ago.
Why don't you go ahead and tell about that grant?
Well, we've gotten actually several grants. We have a budget with the county, but it's very limited. Just like there's just like anything else, it's for a lot of the bigger stuff. Well, we get some of the smaller stuff that we feel like we need, and the Utah Outdoor Recreation Department has some really good grants that they do. I've noticed there's other places around town, like for trail maintenance and trail building and all that. They've gotten these grants, and they're really good to work with. I've been really pleased with it. So through the outdoor recreation, we got 2 drones through a grant. We've gotten, I think, 2 trailers. We've gotten 2 ATVs, one side by side and one 6-wheel thing. We got some ice rescue gear last year. That's another story I can get into on that. And then, let's see, right now we are putting in for another grant to replace one of our old side-by-sides with a new one. And they've just been exceptional to work with. But yeah, so we've been able to outfit our team with some, very specialized and very new equipment. No, we didn't get those through the grants, but we've through just different things, we've been able to replace our entire snowmobile fleet too. So that's awesome. When I came in as commander 3 years ago, we had some that were, one of them was back in like 1999. That was the age of it. A couple of them that way, and just through finagling a little bit. Yeah. So we were able to replace all those. So now we've done our group has done a really good job of getting the equipment we have to a point to where, we're in the new millennium, and and so what we feel a lot more comfortable about deploying, because my biggest concern in my position is just, you send people out on stuff like that, and if you worry about the equipment, then that gives me all kinds of anxiety, because not only are we putting our group in, because we are in a possible peril. We work off a team first attitude. The team always comes first. Yeah. And then, so if we get out, we don't want our team to have to become a victim. But then again, when we get out, we want to make sure that the people we are trying to get home safe are going to get home safe. And so that's been a real priority of mine. Mine and my command staff, the people that I work with, and the group in general. That's something we've really strived to do. Is get to a point to where we know that if we go somewhere, we can depend on our equipment, and that doesn't become a factor in, is everything going to be okay? Yeah,
I like what you said too about making sure your search and rescue team doesn't become the victim, meaning somebody that needs to be saved. Right. Unfortunately, occasionally that does happen, but this is a little bit of a random digression, but I always chuckle at movies when in the premise of a movie or a portion of a movie is to rescue someone so that they don't die, and there's like 10 people that die on their way to rescue them. I'm right. you guys are kind of missing the point of rescuing the one person. If everybody on the rescue team is getting picked off, like, you got to make sure your team is good enough not only to rescue, but to maintain your own safety along the way. Anyways, the pitfalls of Hollywood's presentation on those types of things.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I call it the Indiana Jones syndrome.
Yeah.
Because he goes out and destroys all this historical stuff to find one little thing.
Yeah.
So it's just,
exactly.
And so that's kind of that same premise on that is, you don't want to put all these other people in danger to get somebody home. But it's funny.
Well, search and rescue, I've, some of my background is I've been a PIO for police and fire for different communities. And something about search and rescue is it's not a lot of people know a lot about it. And I think that's part of why we wanted to have you come on is to talk about, hey, this is a volunteer-based organization that's under the sheriff's office. But we could use help of a lot of different people. And there's a lot of different skill sets. It's not just a background in police and fire necessarily that are going out during search and rescue. I mean, the fact that you talk about there's a mountain bike team, I know we have dozens of mountain bikers. We have mountain bike club teams here. We have mountain bike trail building clubs here. We've had some of them on the podcast. Equestrian. You used to talk about you have two people doing equestrian right now. Well, I know there's a heck of a lot more horse riding going on in Iron County than two people, right? And so, it's good for people to be able to hear and learn and see that maybe there's something they could do to contribute to search and rescue. And getting first aid's not hard, especially if you're in Utah and you've ever... for guys out there, if you've ever been involved in Boy Scouts, you've probably done the majority of what's required to get, CPR and first aid training. But one of the things that I wanted to highlight is this year, the Cedar City Chamber is recognizing Iron County Sheriff Search and Rescue as Volunteer of the Year. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and what that means to you guys as an organization?
Well, it's very humbling to get something like that, coming from the chamber, because we kind of work a little bit under the radar. We do a lot of stuff for the community. I mean, don't get me wrong on that, but it's just one of those where, when they said that we got that, I'm just like, are you sure? But that all goes to the group. Our unit is just it's an exceptional bunch of people. In fact, my wife's even mentioned that a couple of times, that she talks about how it feeling like a family. And I guess when you get in this position where you feel like you're putting yourself out there and having to do, like you say, we're responsible for our own things and all that it's a very high commitment.
Yeah. And
that's one thing I want to emphasize when we talk about, people that can help with the SAR. But the award itself, like I say, I was really thrilled. It made me feel, as a commander, I'm really happy that it went to the team, because wouldn't happen. None of this would happen without them. I mean, it's the unit themselves. I can't emphasize enough what a great bunch of people they are.
Yeah. And
for this kind of recognition to come from, the chamber and the community and everything, I was very happy about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those. It's kind of hard to say, because I don't really like talking about certain things, but we're not, again, if you're dealing with a volunteer organization like us, we're not really looking for anything other than a thank you.
Yeah.
And so when that came in, and that's kind of what it felt like, it was a big thank you from the community, and I was very happy to see it. And the unit really deserves it, plain and simple.
Yeah, very well deserved. And you're right, and that's kind of why I wanted to acknowledge that, is search and rescue is kind of under the radar. People that are involved in search and rescue, they're there just because they want to help somebody that's in a dire situation and get them out. And when you have certain skill set to be able to assist with that, I mean, it can make all the difference, right?
Absolutely.
My wife's a nurse, and so we know the difference not only when she is at work, but in family circumstances, her skill sets come in handy all the time for family members. And so to be able to contribute those types of skill sets in a variety of skill sets that people may have to the community, it can make all the difference between a life and limb, I guess, life and death for some individuals. So talk to me if somebody wants to, and then after this, I kind of want to dive into maybe some interesting stories and talk about some of the rescues you've done, memorable rescues. Talk to me if somebody wants to get on search and rescue, what are the, just high level steps that they have to take? How do they get a hold of you, and et cetera? How do they move forward?
Sure. Well, first to start with is our team meets the first and third Monday of every month at the search and rescue buildings down on Kitty Hawk Drive.
Okay.
And we ask people to come to a meeting because first and foremost, we want to meet them and have them meet us and kind of go over the particulars. We do have a website, if I can shamelessly plug that.
Yeah, please.
It's icssar.net. Some of the information on there, it's kind of going through, it needs some more updating right now. But anyway, under the contact tab, there's a item there that says new volunteer information. And there's a quick synopsis of kind of what we ask of them. And then there's the application packages on there too, and they can download that. Several pages, so we can hand them out if they come to the meeting, but it's better if they download it because then they have the information. And then there's several things they have to fill out. They require a criminal background check, a drug screening, and then just anything else, other things that come up with that. And then that goes to the sheriff's office, and they do run the background check and look things over. And if they approve that, it moves on to human resources in the county. And they will send information to them to have the drug screening, and if all that comes back, then we bring them onto our roster. And then it starts out as what we call our prospects. So it's a minimum of 6 month, probationary period. And during that 6 months, we make sure they get their application in. There's some training that's required before they really move up.
Right.
Some of it's online, a lot of it's in-house with us. CPR card. We do a CPR training for the unit every year, but if they can, go someplace else, Southwest Tech, I think, has a really good program for that.
Yeah.
And, as long as they get that. So that's kind of the beginning of it. We find a lot of people there's a lot of people moving into the area that they want to help, but then when they realize the commitment part of that, they just, okay, this isn't for me, and that's fine. It's just, we can't expect everybody to do that. And then from there, they move up to what we call a rider status, which kind of brings them more into the fold, and then they're able to, do a few more things. And then from there, after another 6 months, they might be eligible to move up as a full member. So.
Gotcha.
So it's a process. And again, I will emphasize that, it is a commitment. We talked about these individual teams and these people that might want to help. Even the people on the individual teams have to join the unit and be part of the full team. It's not, we're calling the bike team out or the snow team out or whatever.
Right.
So it's all year long. We expect, attendance and participation throughout the entire year. And so, again, you go back to people like the K9 team and the snow team. They're doing trainings on their own. Same with the drone team. So we have unit trainings, we have unit meetings, and then our individual teams do their own trainings. And then if they get called out, because there will be times when just the drone team, we'll have the drone team go out. Somebody needs assistance trying to find something or somebody. We get the same thing from the K9 team every once in a while. Of course, the mountain bike team kind of does their thing too. But during the winter, the snow team gets the majority of the calls because, again, we don't want 30 or 40 people just standing around freezing up in the parking lot somewhere, so you get the people who know how to run the equipment. But we do need support people too. That's, I need to emphasize that too, is even if, we have some people that are a little bit long in the tooth, and, really can't hike a lot or do whatever, but they make a good support team. So, we find something for everybody to do.
That's awesome. So I guess now let's kind of maybe dive into some of the rescues that you've done, and maybe we can talk about some of the specific unit type rescues that have happened. But for you, some of those successful rescues, what are some of your more memorable successful rescues? Yeah,
I've got a few of them. Some of them are, it's very diverse. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Before Kenora Falls, made some of those improvements on the ladder. We were getting called down there quite a bit. We still do. We still get calls down there, but nothing like there was one time I know for sure we got galled down twice in the same day.
Oh, wow.
But those are always very memorable, but because we normally have members of the ropes team there too, our high angle team. So that gives us a chance to all be together, and it's not a bad hike either when you really think about it. But yeah, we've had some, I've got to tell a funny story about that while I'm thinking about it. So in Canara Falls, you've got the first falls. That's where they put that new ladder in. And then you walk up a ways and there's the second fall, and there's really no way to get up there except they've got a tree limb there, a log. And you get up there, and then you get to the third fall, where between the first and second fall is where a lot of people get hurt. Just because the rocks are slick, it looks deeper than it really is, and they'll slide on those rocks, and they mess up their ankle, their feet, their knees, whatever, and wrists. They'll fall and break their wrists. But right there, kind of in the middle of that, there's this kind of fairly good sized tree. Well, we'll be talking as we're on our way down to help these people, and we'll say, where are they? And we get a lot of people say, well, they're at the screaming tree. It's because normally we get up there, if they're above the first fall, they're sitting under that tree screaming.
Because they're in pain.
Yeah, so that's happened a few times. We had some pretty serious ones. We had a gentleman up there that fell, and he was alone and hit his head, and that was a bad one. We had one where we had I will just say it's a person that was rather larger. And we couldn't get them down. We couldn't get them down. I think she was above the second fall. I was trying to keep more information out of this, but anyway, this person was above this. I've already said that, but this person was above the second fall, and we could not get them down with the equipment they had. So they called in the DPS helicopter. The Highway Patrol has which they're a great group to work with also, and also the Life Flight people. We've had so many good interactions with them. Anyway, so the decision was made that we were going to have to hoist this person up the cliffside so they could take them out on the helicopter. And it turned out to be about 80 feet high.
Wow.
And that was very interesting, but boy, it was very, I'll say it was cool to watch how the helicopter would come in over that and just, basically hover right there while they got that person up and into the helicopter. And we had quite a few of those. One of the first ones I went on was right after I joined. There was a child out in kind of the Bible Springs area, Hamlin Valley area, Pine Valley, wherever it was out there. And he was on the spectrum. And he'd walked away from camp. He was out there with his family, and because of his condition, he couldn't feel cold, and it was really cold. It was kind of the end of October, I think, and we were out there pretty much all night.
Wow.
We had our teams out there. We do a lot of man tracking training, and we tracked him. We found him about a mile from camp, but we tracked him for over 8 miles.
Oh, wow.
So he was just wandering through the hills.
Yeah. And
when the helicopter would come over, he would dive under a rock.
Oh, really?
And then there was one thing he said that he was mad because the helicopter kept him awake. Oh. So, but that was good. That was one of those that was very, that was a really good one to be on, because to see that where they're reunited with the parents and home safe, a young child like that, especially in that situation, and out in that area, you never know what's out there.
Right.
That was a real good one.
Just
there's been a lot of them. Personally, I've had a couple of real good ones with my dogs. I don't know. There's it's hard to kind of pinpoint when you get anything on the bad side. The bad ones are plane crashes. I hate going on plane crashes. They're just it's, I'll be blunt about this and just say they're very violent.
Yeah.
And we have to really be careful about, what we do in those. And they're
when you talk about the dog rescues too, I'm always impressed at some of the stories with how intuitive some dogs are. In fact, I think it was just this morning in my news feed, somewhere else in the country, they were looking for a little boy. You made me think of this. And they couldn't find him for a long time. And some random dog came up, kept barking at the officer, and his body cam recorded it all. And the dog would go, stop, bark at the officer, and have him come. And the little boy had trapped himself in like a neighbor's car or something.
Oh.
And this dog,
haven't
nobody
heard that.
even knew who owned the dog or anything, led the officers right to the little boy. And it's just crazy to me sometimes these animals, how intuitive they can be.
Yeah.
And then you add training on top of that and what they can know. I mean, I don't know with your dogs if you've had some cool experiences like that where your dog's just surprised at what they were able to uncover. Or
I
discover.
have. There's a couple of people on our team that have some really good stories, but a personal story for me is, I can't remember, it was probably about 4 or 5 years ago. There was a group of people had gone deer hunting. It was during, I think it was during the bow hunt. I can't remember. Yeah, it was the bow hunt. But it was, whatever it was up by Hancock Peak, which is right there by, Highway 143 over to Panguitch.
Mm-hmm.
And we got this call, and one of the guys, I think, if memory serves, it was a couple of people, or some people that brought some friends in and wanted to take them hunting. Mm-hmm. And so the guy was kind of unfamiliar with the area. And sometime during all that, he'd walked away from them. And I don't know if you've ever been up that area up around Hancock Peak, but the timber up there is so thick.
Really? And
if you get in there, it's very disorienting. I mean, it's really, you can't see a landmark. And this was at night, so I really couldn't see the stars. Luckily, we have a little application that we use on our phones that we've used for a long time, and without that, I'd probably still be up there. Anyway, it had been drizzling, it had been raining all day, and then we got into the night. This was quite late. It was probably after midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and I had my dog with me, and I decided, so I told the deputy, because we always have a sheriff's deputy either there or available, because he's there as a liaison with the sheriff's office. Because we can't get called out unless the sheriff's office calls us. Mm-hmm. So you can't just call us up and say, hey, somebody's missing. No, you got to go through dispatch, and we have to get the deputies involved and anybody from the sheriff's office. So anyway, I grabbed my dog. We took off across. It was kind of this open flat, and then got into the timber. And like I said, it was drizzling. It was cold. It was wet. And as we got into there, I got realizing, I'm looking around going, man, I hope I haven't gotten turned around. Yeah. So my dog was, he was going through the timber. He was doing pretty good. And they had other people looking for him. And I could hear somebody whistling to the south. Uh-huh. And I didn't know if it was him. So I was whistling to see if I can get a return. And I kind of did. And I was thinking, well, maybe that's him. So I'm kind of trying to pull my dog off, and he wouldn't. Mm-hmm. He kept wanting to go a little bit north. It was like, oh, man, I didn't know what to do. But anyway, we pressed on, and all of a sudden I look up, and I'm standing in front of this guy from about, 20 feet away or something. Yeah. He's in full camo, and my dog is standing in front of me, and he's just frozen. And so he scented this guy and found him. Yeah. And I asked the guy, I says, you who we're looking for? And he says, yeah, I think so. And anyway, so he started walking toward us, and my dog started to growl. Uh-huh. And I'm like, I couldn't understand what was going on. Well, the guy had started a fire, so he smelled like smoke really bad, covered in camo. Yeah. And I don't think my dog knew what it was, because this guy's talking. Yeah. So a tree is talking to
But he scented something. Yeah. He scented the person.
Yeah,
at
he
least.
found it, and he got to the guy. So that was a really good one.
That's cool.
So just stories like that. And we have other members of our team that they get into stories of when we've gone out looking for people, when you first find that person, it's just, you can't imagine the feeling. It is the most incredible thing in the world. Yeah, that's awesome. So aside from the dogs, even the people in the group, when they do stuff like that, and I don't know, that's the best payment anybody can get when that happens, when you know that you have brought somebody back to safety, and it's incredible. Yeah, like a treasure hunt on tenfold almost, that's right. Because there's just a relief that somebody's okay. Yeah, it is. It's really. So how long is I guess I'm just fascinated. I didn't even think about having like a mountain bike team to search. How long's that been going on? We've had it for probably about 3 years. Okay. We were having calls. We get calls up here on, below the sea, and that trail system that you're on right here. And, for the most part, the calls we get are not real serious, but we've had some what could be potentially very serious calls. Sure. Some of those steeper hill trails and stuff, somebody gets off on that. We've had broken shoulders. We've had just very. They could be a lot. They could be a lot worse. Yeah. And that kind of went up we were getting more and more of them, and now it hasn't been so bad the last little while, but I think it's because you got more people up there, and if something happens there, anyway, it doesn't matter. But so that came into play where I don't remember exactly which part of the trail system it was on, but anyway, some guy had missed the turn and went off, and had broke his shoulder and hurt other places. Well, he was in an area that was quite steep, and there's some access to some of those trails down below, with small ATVs, but there was no way to get to this guy. And our first concern was we need to get an assessment on him. Do we need to get, because we've actually worked a little bit with the BLM and others to try to get landing zones up there too.
Yeah.
So our first thought was, we've got to get up and find out what's going on.
Right.
Do we need to get some sort of air support in to come get him out, do whatever? And it so happened that one of our members was riding his bike in the area when he heard the call and met us there. So he took off the trail, went up, just a few minutes, and was able to talk to the guy and get a good assessment. And from there, we were able to know, okay, we need medical here, we need to take this up, we need to take that up. Had we tried to hike that or whatever, we'd have been probably 20 minutes getting to him, and instead it took 5.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so when we've developed these teams and stuff like that, first we go with a need, and the need, of course, is increased with the trail system and some of the stuff, and more trails around the area too that they're putting in. So we're seeing, this is something that's really going to become a factor sometime down the road. So
you're making me think of a couple things, and actually 2 things that kind of go together. So I run, and I do trail running and things like that. When I was living up north, my wife and we have this tradition to go on a run when we sounds, some people think that is the weirdest tradition, but we will go for a run on our birthdays, for anniversaries, wherever we're at. And so we decided to go on this really long trail run. We were up north, and we mapped it all out on what we thought were clear, marked trails on the maps and everything. And so we were just doing this giant loop, and we got to this one part, and we're like, the trail doesn't seem very clear. It kept going this way, and I'm like, yeah, but if we go that way, I'm pretty sure the map says that goes clear up and around. I'm like, it looks like it's supposed to go this way. So we followed the way that it looked like it was supposed to go, and in the end, it turned out that was the right way. And I'll tell you what I discovered later was, but as we went down that trail, we get to like kind of this rock cliff face, and I'm like, the end of our run should just be like a mile just right there, but there is no clear trail. And we tried bushwhacking a little, and I'm like, I don't want to get lost, and I don't want to be one of those stories, because it was starting to get dark, because we had timed it just right so we'd be done a little bit before sunset and everything. And I'm up on this like rock cliff face trying to find around and everything, and it dawned on me, because only and I can't remember the exact timing, my mind's a little blurry because it was several years ago, there had been a pretty prominent trail runner in that area that went missing, and everybody was looking for him, and the whole kind of like search and rescue was out. The trail running community was kind of out searching, and I realized the area that we were at was where he had been found. And at least I assumed it was, based on everything that I had read and kind of looked at. And in the end, we decided it's better to know our way back. So we ran, I can't remember what, we were only supposed to run like 7 miles, and we ended up running, or we were only supposed to run like 8 miles, and we ended up running 14 because that last mile we couldn't figure out. So we ran back the other way. And what I had realized, and I started paying closer attention on the way back, I had realized there had been a wildfire there just the year before, or maybe a year or 2 before. And so the marked trails were missing. The trails had been, they just hadn't been redone since that wildfire. And so what I'm kind of getting at with this is, as you guys are up there, do you guys coordinate with maybe some of those trail groups or the county or the local authorities to say, hey, this is a trail that somebody's going to get lost because it's not properly marked, or what is there kind of coordination in that? Because that's always resonated with me. I thought my wife and I could have got really lost and in a tough situation because all the maps said it was marked, but when we got there, it was no longer marked because of that wildfire. And I understand funding and time and volunteers to go do that stuff, but I don't know if there's kind of coordination with some of that.
We have done that. We find something that's kind of glaring like that. We'll talk to somebody and say, yeah, I know so-and-so from the whatever organization, and they'll talk to them. I mean, we don't necessarily go out looking for that. I shouldn't say that. But one thing about this area that I will say in that same vein is, there's a lot of groups in this area that do a really good job of taking care of those type of things.
Right,
You've got some of the ATV clubs, and they go out and are really good about making sure that the little posts that show the trail things. And the same thing with these trails up here. A lot of the trails around here, like you say, the biking groups and the running groups, they've done a really good job with that. I've noticed we go out and we'll go out one time and you can see somebody shot one of those posts completely full of bullet holes, so you can barely read it. And you go out a few months later and it's fixed. So that's you got to really hand it to the community with their involvement with stuff like that too. Kind of in that, like I say, kind of talking about things like that. We don't necessarily go out looking for stuff like that.
When you're on a rescue, do you notice things like that sometimes on the rescue? They're like, hey, this definitely contributed to why this person got lost.
Yeah, we've noticed that a couple of times. Sign has got knocked down or something like that, and kind of to your point, you get out some of those areas and the map looks like it's supposed to do this, and you're kind of looking at things like, well, that looks like that's more of a turn than this really should be.
Right,
and without proper markings, and that happens.
It makes a difference.
That's becoming kind of another thing too with people coming into the area. There's we've got people that have been in our group for 20 and 30 years, and we've got one guy that's been involved in this for 48 years.
Wow.
So we get into this reminiscing thing about back in the day,
right,
back when Moses was the commander or whatever, and they talk about how when people got lost, and we didn't have the technology we have now, we don't have the phones, we didn't have so they would just like scatter throughout the county to try to figure out what direction somebody went.
Shotgun it.
But back then, you think about, you didn't have the access roads and the trails like you have now, and so that's becoming kind of I wouldn't call it an issue, but something we all need to be cognizant of. And so people coming into the area, we try to, anybody we talk to, or we give any sort of deal with the public, hey, make sure your trail like this. And the one thing we tell them is to be very careful about your mapping software they're using, Google Earth or anything like that.
Yeah.
Because the fair majority of, especially our winter calls, are up here on like Cedar Breaks and those roads up there, because somebody will be trying to go from Highway 14 from Cedar to get to Brine Head, and it'll take them through the Red Desert. Well, in the middle of winter, there's 4 or 5 feet of snow up there, or even
closed.
Or in the Cedar Breaks Road, 148 through Cedar Breaks is closed, or should be closed, because DOT has a lot of. They can't just run up and shut the gate. If something happens, they have to make sure that the road is cleared. Nobody's in there, because you don't want to shut the gate and leave somebody in.
Right.
Well, in the meantime, there's always somebody that comes up there and goes in.
Classic. I know. I think there's already been a couple. Well, we haven't had as much snow this year, but like there's already. I think I saw something, or maybe it was a previous year's video of somebody going and being pulled out of one of these roads, getting stuck in the snow. Yeah.
Well, so Christmas morning. This last Christmas morning, 6:00, we got a call. It was some people from Florida and Brazil, and that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to get from Brine Head over, and it had snowed. The wind when our group was up there, it was sustained winds of 30 miles an hour plus. Yeah. But they got up there and got just almost to where they were almost out of Cedar Breaks and got hung up in some snow. Yeah. And by the time our people got there, they were in about 3 or 4 feet of snow. Oh, wow. They were fine. They had plenty of stuff. Our people got them out and everything was good. But we just find that a lot. They get off on these side roads. It's, said, hey, take this next right. Well, you get down there and you get to a point where you can't turn around anymore. And then there you are. Yeah. So.
That's a good topic. So we, in Iron County, one of our economic drivers is tourism. Like it's something that creates a lot of jobs, and people have their businesses based on tourism, and it brings in tourism dollars that then we get to reinvest back into the community for our city events and community events and things that we have that can be reinvested in these things and our quality of life. And so it's a balance with tourism sometimes, but search and rescue, what percentage would you say are out-of-towners versus locals?
It's about 50-50.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and it kind of depends on what you mean by local, too, because, the multi-generational people here know the area and kind of know there's certain things you should do. You get people that live here that are off exploring and kind of get whatever, and they sometimes get in trouble. But, yeah, for the most part, it's people that come from areas that there's very little or no snow, and they think, oh, hey, let's go play in the snow, and then they just, you don't realize. Yeah. We always joke about the TV commercials for the vehicles, the cars.
Where they're like going through the snow.
Yeah, they're going through this, 3 or 4 feet of snow, and they're having a grand old time, and we got 4-wheel drive, we can go through it. Yeah, that's not the case.
Yeah. That's why you have YouTube channels like Matt's Off-Road Recovery.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Exactly right.
And it's funny because even those rescues aren't always necessarily just tourists. A lot of times they're locals thinking, oh, my truck can do this or whatever, and it's know your limits kind of a thing. And that's interesting. So with those, kind of going back to your team again, and you talked a lot about like the time commitment involved. Would you say a large majority of your members are people who are retired, have more flexible jobs? Like, if I just keep going back to somebody that might be listening thinking, man, that's something I would like to do, and don't necessarily want to scare them off about the time commitment until they can maybe look at it. So talk about the dynamic of those who are volunteering, and like, are half of them retired guys or?
There's I don't know if it's half, but yeah, there's an amount of people that are retired.
And then do you have a lot of working professionals too?
We do. There's again, it's a very diverse group. We try to make sure that our trainings and stuff are on like weekends. We try to do a quarterly training, and we get the information out. So if there's any conflict that way, our meetings are in the evenings. So
your first and
third Monday.
Mondays and their evenings,
except for December and sometimes whatever. But
yeah.
It's we try to do as much as we can. Well, we've got a lot of students too.
Oh, cool.
Not a lot. We have a few students.
Yeah. From SUU, maybe in the outdoor rec or
just whatever.
EMT
whatever they're doing. But we try to accommodate that as much as we can, because we make it real clear we're here to support our people as much as we can. We try not to put very strict guidelines on them to where if you're doing that you can't be here, sort of thing. We do have minimum requirements for attendance, because if you're not coming to the trainings or stuff like that, then
you don't want your volunteers to be a risk.
Correct. That's a good way to put it. But yeah, we have it's all age groups. I mean, we try to do everything we can to, like I say, to give people an opportunity to come out. It's like I say, we're not doing it at 8:00 in the morning on a Wednesday because we do have a lot of working people. We have students, and we do have a lot of retired people. But even our retired people have commitments too that we we have to deal with. So again, that kind of becomes part of it. And that's what we kind of put down to the people that want to join is, you've got to understand there is this commitment. And it's, it's not like you just come and go as you please sort of thing, but again, we don't want to scare anybody off, because if somebody does have something valuable to give to our group, and if they're willing to do that, again, for free, because we try to do everything we can to accommodate that, and we've done a pretty good job over the last little while.
That's awesome. So let's go into a couple different things. Maybe I'll highlight them now, and then we can pick them off one by one. But one, I kind of want to talk about the fun places for people to go adventure in the area that are safe, based on kind of maybe skill level. I also want to talk about maybe tips if you find or tips to prepare, so that if you find yourself in a precarious situation, you can get help. And I definitely want to talk about your why and why you love to do it, and maybe some of the specific teams and things that you enjoy doing, because you said earlier, I'm not the winter team, but let's start off talking about first, what are some of the kind of outdoor adventures that people can do around here that you would recommend based on maybe skill level or interest?
Well, that's a good question about this, Eric, because there's things out there that people of all skill levels can do. You've got, some really nice hiking trails that are just very, they're a half day, you just nice and easy hikes. And then you've got some other things that are a little more advanced. Of course, the mountain biking part, the trail system around here is excellent. Things that go, same thing with the hiking trails. You get down, it's funny because there's not, one single destination sort of thing. Cedar Breaks has always been a great place because you do have, the nice little things you can do there. If you want to, I know there's people that are developing, I shouldn't say developing, they are working on, they're putting in like rock climbing areas around here. In fact, we had a rescue, was it not last summer? I think it was last summer. It's kind of off Highway 56. There's an outcropping of rocks, and people have
I know where you're talking about.
And a guy fell and short distance and broke his ankle, and so it's just, the thing about it is you can't say, well, you go to Zion or you could go whatever. Cedar Breaks is a kind of a destination, but it's just funny how you just get out of the improved areas, the urban areas. And there's always something, you can go, rock hounding, there's all those places around here where people go out, out toward the mine, and you can find trilobites in some of those places out there. And I don't know, that's a tough question because
it's good.
You've got, the ATV trails. It's just like, that's one thing about this county. We're 3,300 square miles. And I don't have the statistics in front of me. I had to find out how many miles of ATV trails were in this county. And it's thousands of miles between the county, Forest Service, and BLM. And I'm looking at those numbers like, this has got to be statewide. And I did some more research, and sure enough, it's, so what they're recognized as ATV trails. That's just a really tough question because you just can't really put your finger on
Let's
one
put it
thing.
this way. If you had a friend that came to you, they enjoyed hiking, but they weren't this overly athletic person. They said, hey, what's a pretty hike I could go do, or I'm confident that I'll be okay if I just kind of go on a hike on my own or just with my spouse. What's a couple that you might recommend?
Cedar Breaks, of course. Anything up around that area. If you get down like the Kolob Fingers, I think there's those nice little trails that kind of go along the base down in Kolob Canyon. Canara Falls, always a really nice hike. And the lesser known one to the south is that Spring Creek. I don't know if you know much about that, but that's another hike up where a little creek has come out of there. If you want to get really adventurous on that one, if you get to the end of Spring Creek, and I haven't done it, but I've heard people talk about that, you go up as far as you can, and you kind of get up on top of the hill there. You actually kind of look down toward Kolob Fingers, the Kolob Canyon there. I think you have to walk a ways from there, but I'm just...
I'll have to look that up. That sounds cool.
I'm not exactly sure. I just had somebody kind of in passing tell me that one time, because this doesn't really hike. That's why I run dogs.
There you go.
But that's the one. That's what I recommend. I always tell people go to Bryce, even though it's not in the county. But I think everybody needs to see Bryce Canyon. That's such a beautiful area up there. You've got all the trails that are up on. Up toward the Tippets and all that, in the Red Desert. So when you get up in the higher elevations like that, you've just got those open areas that are all Forest Service, so you're not worried about private property and things. It's just, that's what I say, when you get into this area, it's just really hard to say, here's this, one little thing that everybody in the county should see. There's all this stuff everybody should see.
That's what's awesome about being here. That's why we love living here, is there's so much outdoor opportunity, and a variety of outdoor opportunity, whether you're trail running, dirt biking, mountain biking, hiking, hunting, ATVing, you name it. There's so many outdoor opportunities here. And I think what's really important as people are going out is that they're planning and preparing adequately, right?
Yes,
and
absolutely.
So getting into that, what are some things that you recommend, basic things, no matter what your outdoor activity is? If you're going on an outdoor adventure, what are some basic precautions or preparatory things you can do to make sure you're safe, or that you can get help if for some reason you roll your ankle and you can't hike past where you're at?
The very first thing about being any sort of preparedness is let somebody know where you're at.
Yeah.
Tell them where you're going, what time you're leaving, what time you're expecting to come back. At least give that time frame. If you decide to move to a different area, message somebody and let them know, hey, we're not here anymore. Once you get out there, there's always plenty of water, snacks, protein snacks to kind of keep you going. The weather patterns around here can change so fast, so you've really got to be aware of if you get stuck or you're going to be later, and you're going to be, you get that huge temperature drop when the sun goes down, and be prepared to at least keep yourself warm. Carry a flashlight. Always carry a flashlight. And one of the biggest things I tell people is when you're out walking around, don't use your phone, because hey, I need to check my whatever, this thing on TikTok, I got to check this, I got to check that. And I can tell you how many times we have gotten calls and dispatch has given us an idea where they're at, and then their phone died. Yes.
I knew what you were going to say.
And so it's just like, so we actually have on the application I was telling you about, it's probably going to be antiqued here pretty quick because of how fast technology is moving. But we have a way is if you have phone service, we can actually send a text message to you. It'll catch the GPS on your phone and it'll put a dot right where you're standing.
Oh, really?
And that has come in handy several times for us, because
awesome.
When you're dealing with because it actually goes through the GPS on your phone. When you're trying to get information off people's phones through the phone service, because of the geography around here, the signals kind of bounce and they can be quite a ways off.
Right.
We had one, there was a elderly woman that supposedly was stuck. The coordinates showed she was right off Highway 14 at the Zion Overlook. And I mean, like right off Highway 14. We could have pulled up in a truck, grabbed her and thrown her in according to where the mark was. Well, we were able to call her, got the information, send her this message, and come to find out she was almost 22 miles due south on Highway 9.
Oh, wow.
Or just off Highway 9 on the North Fork Road. So she wasn't even in Iron County. She was in Kane County. That come in real handy because it was dark. She didn't know exactly where she was. I mean, so I tell people, make sure your phone is charged. If not, at least carry one of those power banks with you. Yeah. And because that could be quite a lifeline. And
yep. Actually, that trail run I was telling you about with my wife and I, because we were planning on only running 8, got stopped up at 7 and had to run back. My stepmom was actually watching our kids, and we told her where we were, how long we would be, and both our phones died because we had just been taking pictures the whole time of our trail run. Oh, this will be a quick little run, and anyways, and luckily we were fine, and we kind of knew we were trying to be smart about it, and just go back the way we came, and but we didn't have a flashlight, like you're talking about, and our phones were dead, so we couldn't use that as flashlights. And but my stepmother, she knew, okay, there's something wrong if we don't hear from them, in the next hour or two. We probably should try to figure something out. But luckily, we were able to get back in a timely manner. But that was a lesson for us too about, like what you're saying with the phones. You've got to be wise, and the power bank's a smart thing too. One thing that a lot of people don't know about, and I know it's on my watch. I have a Garmin running watch, but there's a lot of watches that track your GPS, and they are actually settings similar to what you were talking about with the text message in the phone on your watch, where there's an emergency setting, and it'll ping and it'll send an SOS, and it'll send it to search and rescue or emergency services. Right. And so I always have my watch on that. So like it's even set. So sometimes it can be annoying because if I hit my wrist or something, it'll start going off and I'll be like, no, I'm fine. But I always have it on, and it's on that setting for when I'm doing an activity. Because if I fell and hit my head and couldn't call somebody, it'll send a signal out for me. After it'll do like a countdown before it sends the signal out, because there was an accidental bump and things. But there's a lot of resources out there.
There is.
In fact, I have it's like a hiking vest, but it's made for like trail running and stuff. It's really light vest. It's got a ton of pockets, but in all of those, they always sew in a little whistle as well.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And so there's lots of options out there for people to think ahead. You don't have to put together a whole hiking bag to go on, a 2-mile hike, but there's little things you can still do precautionary that can help you be safe. And I love what you said. Just the simplest thing is tell people where you're going, what time you're leaving, about when you expect to be back.
Yeah. And what we tell people, I tell people, is before you go anywhere, just think, what if?
Yeah.
Okay. If I'm going to this place, I'm going to go this higher elevation. What if it starts to rain or snow?
Yep.
Do I have what I need? What if I hurt myself or whatever? Do I, it does a lot of good to just ask yourself, okay, what if?
Yeah.
And like you say, you don't need to carry a 70-pound rucksack or anything. It's just make sure you have just the essentials, something to drink, something to eat. Make sure you have a flashlight. Make sure you've got whatever you need.
Yeah.
Carry something a little bit warmer. If you can throw in even a pair of just light, like sweatpants or something, where if it starts to get cold, you can throw them on.
Right.
A lot of people don't really think about the fact that you can get hypothermia even in like 40 and 50 degree weather. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, oh no, it's not going to get that cold. Well, if you're sweating a lot, you've been moving a lot, starts to cool off, all of a sudden that cools your body down. You can get mild hypothermia.
Oh yeah, we can vouch for that. When you're running or hiking and just like you said, you're sweating a lot, and 40, 50 degrees sometimes can be shorts and a t-shirt weather to go run and hike in. If when you're working, it doesn't feel that cold, but as soon as you stop, all that sweat, you just freeze until you get in the car and head home. It's one thing that was ingrained in me in my youth, just growing up, being a Boy Scout, an Eagle Scout was just always the motto, be prepared. And maybe maybe I overdo it sometimes, because sometimes I'll be loaded up with way more things than I need. But I'm like, I just want to be prepared based on the what if that you're talking about, because that's kind of how I think. You don't want it to make you paranoid, or like we were saying, you don't have to carry a 70-pound pack, but just be wise, you know, in what you're doing. Okay, well, kind of wrapping up a little bit. One thing that I wanted to talk about right before we wrap up, and then any parting thoughts that you may have as well. But why do you told your story about how you got into it, but why do you do this? Why do you enjoy it? Why are you invested so much that you're the commander of this large volunteer group? What's your why?
Well, for me, and I know there's a lot of people in our group that kind of feel the same way. I personally hit a point in my life where I realized I wanted to do something more for the community. I wouldn't say that prior to that, I did a lot of stuff with other organizations and stuff, and I realized it was kind of it almost felt selfish, because I was doing it for me. It was for my own enjoyment and all this other stuff. And then I just got to a point to where, I really want to get into something where I can feel like I'm giving back, because the people around here, I'm originally from this area, and I wanted to make sure that I was giving something back to the area. And you hear that a lot from other people is just the fact that when you can go out and help somebody else, we touched on this earlier, was unless you've done it, you don't understand the feeling, what it's like to, find somebody that's in peril and, hurt or whatever, and be able to get them out safely. It is, sorry.
You're right.
Just unless you've done it, you'll never know. But that's why I do it. That's why a lot of our people do it. And again, we've got an amazing group of people. Very amazing group of people. The sheriff, he has been such a great support for us. A lot of people talk about the sheriff. Oh, he's just a politician. No, he's not. He is very, very in touch with this community and making sure that the people of this community are safe and and doing everything he can for that. So, I know it's kind of a shameless plug, but through my boss, but you know, he has been so good to us. The things he's supported us with and everything else. And like I say, he's one of our bigger proponents of what we do, and just, you know, I can't say enough about the guy.
I really appreciate you sharing that, because just seeing kind of your emotion, not having been in your shoes trying to rescue someone, but I can imagine, there's one word that came to my mind as I was listening to you and kind of watching your expression, was hope. I can only imagine when you're out there searching for someone, trying to make sure that they're safe, that search and rescue, just you're hoping to find the best outcome.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
And the same way with the family members of those that are lost or friends or whatever, and the person that needs rescuing. Everybody has this hope that we're going to find the best outcome in this situation. Mm-hmm. When you're talking about that story with the little boy, I just thought of every parent who's ever had their child missing, even for a moment. You go through this panic of, where's my kid? And you just hope that they're safe and taken care of. And I can't imagine, I guess I should say, I can only imagine how much further that would be when you're out there trying to rescue someone with that hope that you're going to find the best outcome.
Yeah,
it's just
and it's
awesome.
And it's, you know, and in my position where I'm, you know, kind of in charge of that whole thing, that gets amplified a little bit too, because you got to make sure, you know, are the people where they need to be? Do we have what we need?
Yeah.
But again, it's really it's an amazing feeling.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. Well, kind of to wrap us up, tell us, I'm going to have you tell us a couple things. One, what are some of the needs you guys have right now in search and rescue that those in the community listening might be able to help you with?
Well, we're always, there's, like I said, we do get a budget from the county. We try to get some of the bigger stuff from grants and all that, but we do rely heavily on donations. Last couple of years, we've kind of done a fundraiser drive, and we've been able to raise some good money for that. So it's, you know, it's a lot of little things. So like, we try to keep specific things in a lot of our vehicles. So we need like, you know, shovels and blankets and just, you know, little ancillary stuff. And because of what we do and all that, they always, not always, but the replacement for just some of the smaller stuff. So, you know, donations go a long ways. This last fundraiser we did, we were shooting for, that wasn't that one. It was, anyway, it doesn't matter. We got one of our ATVs that needs some updates. We wanted to put a cab on it because, you know, you get out there in the dirt and the cold and everything else, and you've got people that are you're trying to take back, and you know, you don't want to exacerbate that by, you know, making them colder and dirtier.
Especially if they got hypothermia.
Yeah. And anyway, the community was good enough that they donated enough that the grant I was talking about trying to get a new ATV, we actually got enough that with the grant money, we're going to be able to use a portion of that in kind, because the state requires, the recreation requires an in-kind amount, and we got enough that we're going to actually be able to buy a brand new one that's awesome. Got heating and the cabbed, and I mean it's going to be really nice. But yeah, we rely a lot on donations, little small donations here and there. There's a few of the local businesses that donate quite regularly to us, and again, there's just a lot of small stuff that just, you know, don't fall under line of what the budget is, and if we can just get stuff like that, and we can say, hey, we need this, you know, right now, and instead of having to go through the channels of, you know, what it takes sometimes to get
budget for something. Yeah.
So.
Yep, I know exactly how that goes.
But again, you know, we've done really good on people that have been, you know, and our social media has also taken off pretty good too, and that's really helped with people. That's really given us some really good exposure.
Well, that goes right into kind of how I want to wrap things up. Tell people the various ways, remind them of the website, the social media, tell them the various ways they can find you, get in touch with you, get more information, and then any parting words you want to leave us with.
Well, again, our website is ICSSAR.net, so Iron County Sheriff Search and Rescue, just the letters acronym for that. There's a way on there, I think there's a way on there still to donate. If not, they can call the sheriff's office and get information from them. We have a unit phone, but it's not monitored. It's when we go out on big searches and stuff, that's the phone number we give out to people to call us, so we're not giving out personal numbers. Just the support of the community has been just absolutely amazing. We do a lot of community work. We we work pretty close with the Iron County Fair. We help with their parking and setting up their parking lot, stuff like that. The Heritage Festival, we help with the sheep parade. Just a lot of things. We participate in a lot of the parades. So we're doing everything we can to be, a valuable member to the community, as well as being, what we do, what we're being paid to do. So.
Yeah, as volunteers. That's awesome. Well, great. Bert Mitchell, commander of the Iron County Sheriff Search and Rescue. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks for being on here.
I'm glad to be here. It's been a fun. I appreciate it very much.
It's been great chatting with you.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks.
Thank you.